शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां पिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாபிவ சம்பிரக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே ஜகதः பிதரௌ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரௌ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचर गुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्री गुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं चक्रवाटी द्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പീരേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. I think a lot of people are in India and stuff in the summertime. That's why it's a little light crowd today. Anyway, but we'll keep going. We'll quickly do 71 and 72. We'll just start since it's only four or five of us here. So Ramesh, you and maybe is it iPhone Lakshmi Garu?
Yes, Ramesh.
Okay.
I mean, sorry. Yes, Rajesh.
Yeah. So maybe Lakshmi Garu and Ramesh, you can be student for 71.
Sure.
Okay. So Dasakam 71 is Keshi Vada Varnanam and Vyomasura Vada Varnanam. So two things. So stanza 1. Yatneshu Sarveshwapi Nava Keshi, comma, Keshi sa Bhoje Shitur Ishtabandhuhu. Shitur Ishtabandhuhu. Tvam Sindhujhavapya Itiva Matva, comma, Sampraptavan Sindhuja Vaji Rupaha. Yatneshu sarveshwapi navakeshi keshi sa bhojeshi turishta bandhuhum tvam sindhujavapya iti vamatva sampraptavan sindhujavaji rupaha.
A question, Rajesh. Is it Tvam in the third line or Tvam?
Tvam. Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going. Yeah.
Yatnesu sarveshvapi navakeshi keshi sa bhojeshi turishta bandhuhu tvam sindhujavapya itiva matva sampraptavan sindhujavaji rupaha. Yatneshu sarveshvapi navakeshi keshi sa bhojeshi turishta bandhuhu tvam sindhujavapya itiva matva sampraptavan sindhujavaji rupaha.
Yatneshu sarveshbi navakeshi keshi shapoje siturishta bandhuhu tvam sindhu javapya iti vamadva sampraptavan sindhu javaji rupaha.
Ramesh, in the third line, Tvam Sindhujava.
Tvam. Tvam. இது துவம் சிந்துஜவ
துவாம் எக்ஸ்ட்ரா துவாம்னு அது எப்படின்னாக்கா இந்த சான்ஸ்கிரிட்ல வந்து the word துவம் means you, துவாம் also means you. Okay. But when the you is used in the context of a subject, like when you're saying that you are doing it, it is tuam. When somebody approaches you, when you are the object, then it becomes tuam. So under in that context, it's tuam.
இல்ல தமிழ்ல இது இல்ல துணைக்கால் இல்ல அதனாலதான்.
Okay.
Yatneshu sarveshvapi navakeshi keshi shabhoje sitirishta bandhu tvam sindhu javapya iti vamadva sampraptavan sindhu javaji rupaha.
Gandharva tamesha gatopi rukshair ir, and then put a plus. So after rukshair, this nak mere this ir there, so you kind of say it together, rukshair, and then put a plus. Then nadaihi you have, then put a is. Nadais samudvejita sarva lokaha bhavat vilokhavadi gopa vatim, comma, pramardya papaha is there, put a f, papa punara patatvam. So this is one of this Ishtabandhuhu, one very dear friend of Kamsa, was a person called as Keshi, who has never been, who is extremely powerful to the extent that he has never been defeated. He has never been unsuccessful in any attempt that he has taken. And because he also had some magical powers, so he could actually come in the form of any shape he wants. So he decides to take the form of a horse to come and get rid of Krishna. So in this chapter, in a couple of places, Bhattripad uses the same word, which actually means two different things. So first he says, he approaches you, he is from the land of, he approaches as if he is a horse from the land of the Sindhu. From the Pakistan, Afghanistan area, they have very good horses. So he approaches the Gokul as if he is a horse from that region, thinking that you are very accessible for people who are from Sindhu. And here Sindhu also means ocean. So Mahalakshmi came from the ocean, if you remember, right, during the churning. So he says, because Mahalakshmi came from the ocean, you are very easily accessible to those people. So he also thought maybe that if he says he's from Sindhu, he's easy accessible. It's a pun there. That's it. So then when he comes to Gokulam, first what happens is he then starts becoming very frightening, and then he starts running around and damaging property and everything there, and he's scaring away people, and then finally starts approaching you. Gandharva Thamesha, we already said that. Gandharva Thamesha Gatopi Rukshair Nadai Samudvechita Sarvalokaha Bhavat Viloka Vadigopavatim Pramardya Papa Punarapatatvam.
गन्धर्वतामेश गतोऽपि रुक्षैर्नादैः समुद्वेजित सर्वलोकः भवद्विलोकावधिगोपवाटीं प्रमद्य पापः पुनरापतत्वाम् गन्धर्वतामेश गतोऽपि रुक्षैर्नादैः समुद्वेजित सर्वलोकः भवद्विलोकावधिगोपवाटीं प्रमद्य पापः पुनरापतत्वाम्
Gandharvatamesh gatopi rukshaiर्नाथैः samudvejita sarvalokaः bhavat vilokavadikopavatim pramartya papa punarapadatvam.
The second line, Lokaha, end of the second line.
Lokaha was visarga.
Sarva Lokaha.
Okay, visarga, okay. Gandharvatameshu gatopi rushairnathais samudvejita sarvalokaha.
Lokaha. Lokaha.
Lokaha. Bhavat sarvalokaha. Bhavat vilokavadikopavatim pramartya papa punarapadatvam.
Tarkshya Pitangres. So Tar and the Tarkshya Pitangres Tava Tarkshya Eshaha. So put a visarga there after that Esha if you don't have it. Eshaha, comma. Chikshepa Vaksho Bhuvi Nama Padam. Brigoho is there. Put a F. Brigov Pada Ghata Katham Nishamya, comma. Svenapi Shakyam Taditiva Mohat. So here also, like, but it's playing with words. He says Tarksha has two meanings. One of them is it could be a horse, or it could be the Garuda, the bird Garuda is also called Tarksha. So he says, you who has your feet on Tarksha, which is on Garuda, this horse is Tarksha, then try to kick you with the feet. And then he says, he also was kicking you with the feet because when Bhrigu kicked you with the feet, if you remember, the Bhrigu Rishi kicked Mahavishnu to test who is the most patient person. He goes and kicks on Mahavishnu's chest, right? So at that time, Mahavishnu forgave him and then asked Bhrigu, like, how is your feet? Is your feet hurt? So because Mahavishnu was so kind, so this Tarksha, this horse thought that by kicking you, you are not going to do anything. And so he tried to kick you here. Tarkshya pitangres tava tarkshya eshaha chikshepa vaksho bhuvinam padam bhrigov pada ghata katham nishamya svena pishakyam taditiva mohat.
Tarkshat pitangres tava tarkshya eshaha chikshepa vaksho bhuvinama padam Bhrugoh padaghata katham nishamya svenapi shakyam taditiva mohat. Tarkshyarpitangres tava tarkshya eshaha chikshepa vaksho bhuvinama padam Bhrugoh padaghata katham nishamya svenapi shakyam taditiva mohat.
Tarkshyarpitangarestava tarkshyayeshaha shikshepa vaksho bhuvinamapatam भृगोपताकातकतां निशम्य स्वेनापि शक्यं ततितीव मोहात् तार्क्ष्यार्पितङ्गरेस्तव तार्क्ष्ययेषः शिक्षेप वक्षो भुवि नामपातम् भृगोपताकातकतां निशम्य स्वेनापि शक्यं ततितीव मोहात्
प्रवञ्चयन्नस्य खुराञ्चलं drak. So you'll have a ga, first ga you'll have there. We're going to break it. So put the ik, first ka with a line, ik, drak, comma. Next word starts with the a. Amuncha chikshepita dura duram. Sammurchitopi hyati, ha and ya together, hyati murchitena, comma. Krodhoshmana khaditum adrutastvам. If you want to break it, khaditum adrutastvám. Pravanchayannasya khuranchalam drak amuncha chikshepita dura dhuram sammurchitopi hyati murchitena krodhoshmana khaditum adrutastvám.
प्रवञ्चयन्नस्य खुराञ्चलन्द्राक् अमुञ्च चिक्षेपिथ दूरदूरं सम्मूर्च्छितोऽपि ह्यतिमूर्च्छितेन क्रोधोष्मणा खादितुमादृतस्त्वाम् प्रवञ्चयन्नस्य खुराञ्चलन्द्राक् अमुञ्च चिक्षेपिथ दूरदूरं सम्मूर्च्छितोऽपि ह्यतिमूर्च्छितेन क्रोधोष्मणा खादितुमादृतस्त्वाम्
प्रवञ्जयन्तस्य कुराञ्चलं तराक् अमुञ्च शिक्षेपितदूरदूरं सम्मूर्च्छितोऽपि ह्यतिमूर्च्छितेन क्रोधोष्मणा खादितुमादृतस्त्वाम् प्रपञ्चयन्तस्य
Sorry, Ramesh, and the first word pravancha va, v as in Victor va.
प्रवञ्चयन्तस्य कुराञ्चलं त्राक् अमुञ्च शिक्षेपितदूरदूरं सम्मूर्च्छितोऽपि ह्यतिमूर्च्छितेन क्रोधोष्मणा खादितुमादृतस्त्वाम्.
Then the first word pravanchayannasya, na is there, right? What do you have? The first word is
यन्नस्य
okay.
प्रवञ्चयन्नस्य कुराञ्चलं त्राक्.
Correct, yeah, that's correct. Tvam vaha dande kritadhischa vaha, and then put a plus, dhandam nyadas tasya mukhe tadani tad vriddhi ruddha shwasano, ish sound and va, shwasano gatasuhu, comma, sapti bhavan napyayam aikyamagat. Sapti bhavan napyayam aikyamagat. Tvam vaha dande kritadhischa vaha dandam nyadhastasya mukhe tadanim tad vriddhi ruddha shwasano gatasuhu sapti bhavan napyayam aikyamagat.
त्वं वाह दण्डे कृतधीश्च वाह दण्डं न्यधास्तस्य मुखे तदानीं तद्वृद्धिरुद्धश्वसनो गतासुः सप्ति भवन्नप्ययमैक्यमागात् त्वं वाह दण्डे कृतधीश्च वाह दण्डं नधास्तस्य मुखे तदानीं त्वद्वृद्धिरुद्धश्वसनो गतासुः सप्ति भवन्नप्ययमैक्यमागात्.
Lakshmi garu, third line, first word, tad vriddhi.
तद्वृद्धिरुद्धश्वसनो.
Yeah, correct.
त्वं वाहतण्डे कृदतीश्च बाघा तण्डं न्यतास्तस्य मुखे ततानीं तद्वृत्तिरुत्तस्वशनो गताशुः सब्धीव भवन्नव्यमैक्यमाकात्.
The last line, Sapti Bhavannapyayam, double ya is there.
सब्धीव भवन्नव्ययमैक्यमाकात्. त्वं वाहतण्डे कृततीश्च बाहा दण्डं यतास्तस्य मुखे दतानीं तद्वृत्तिरुत्तस्वशनो गताशुः सब्धीव भवन्नव्ययमैक्यमाकात्.
Alambha matrena pashoho is there pasho suranam prasadake nutna ivashwamedhe krite tvaya harsha vashat surendraha. That is there, remove it and then put a visarga comma, surendraha. Tvam tushtuvuhu is there, put a ich sound, tushtuvuh keshava namadheyam. So when we said earlier, where the horse tried to kick Krishna with its feet, like the Brigu tried to kick. So at the time, then Krishna then dodges it, and then he takes the horse and then throws the horse away. Then it continues to come to fight, continues to run towards him to get rid of him. So at that time, that's why in the previous one it says Vahadhande. So as if like a club, Krishna puts his fist into the horse's mouth, and then with that, the horse then, although he was a horse, it says although he's a horse, he aikyamagat, he becomes one with you, he attains liberation with you. So because although you have not done Ashwamedha sacrifice, like the next stanza, 6th stanza says, although you do not perform the Ashwamedha sacrifice, because you are able to get rid of this evil demon who's in the form of a horse and get him merged into you, and his name was Keshi, you were then given the name of Keshava. So that's where the word Keshava is coming. So because that's why the Surendraha, the gods then gave you the name of Keshava, because you got rid of this Keshi. Alamba matrena pasho suranam prasadake nutna ivashwamedhe krite tvaya harsha vashat surendraha tvam tushtuvuh keshava namadheyam.
आलम्भमात्रेण पशुसुराणां प्रसादकेनोत्न इवाश्वमेधे कृते त्वया हर्षवशात् सुरेन्द्राः त्वां तुष्टुवुः केशव नामधेयम्. आलम्भमात्रेण पशुसुराणां प्रसादकेनोत्न इवाश्वमेधे कृते त्वया हर्षवशात् सुरेन्द्राः त्वां तुष्टुवुः केशव नामधेयम्.
आलम्बमात्रेण पशुसुराणां प्रसादके नुत्त इवा स्वमेते
And in the Ashwamedha, I remember. So Ivashwamedhe, and the word there is
Ivashwamete. Okay.
Yeah. And the Ashwamedha is the last part of that word.
Okay. Ivashwamete. Okay. Alambamatrena pashosuranam prasadake nutta ivashwamete krite tvaya harshavasat surendraha tvam tushtuvu keshavanamatheyam. Alambamatrena pashosuranam prasadake nutta ivashvamete krite tvaya harshavasat surendraha tvam tushtuvuh keshavanamatheyam.
Stanza 7. Kamsaya te shauri sutatvam uktva, tam tadva dhotkam pratirudhya vacha praptena keshi kshapanavasane, Shri Naradena Tvam Abhishtuto Bhuhu. Tvam Abhishtuto or Tvam Abhishtuto Bhuhu. So when all this was happening, it's been years. Now years are passing, right? All this time has passed, and all these people are trying to come and kill Krishna. And so the time now has finally come to get rid of Kamsa. So Narada, if you remember when Krishna was the first child of Devaki and Vasudeva was born, and Kamsa then wanted to kill, and then he didn't kill because he thought it's his nephew. And then Narada came and then put these ideas in his mind. So similarly here Narada is coming, and finally Narada reveals to Kamsa that the person who's the eighth son of Devaki and Vasudeva is born, and that is Krishna. And Vasudeva knows about it, and that's what Narada is saying, right? That Vasudeva knows about it and he has not told you. When he says, then Kamsa gets very angry and then he goes and tries to kill Vasudeva. But Narada then stops him and saying there's no use killing Vasudeva, it's out of his control. And the boy is Krishna and he is in Gokulam right now. So that's what Narada comes and tells. So after that, Narada then comes and meets Krishna. After he comes to Gokulam and he meets Krishna, Vrindavan, and meets Krishna, and then praises him for first getting rid of Keshi and also giving him an indicator of what's going to happen next. That Kamsa now knows about this. Kamsa yate shauri sutatva muktva tam tadvadhotkam pratirudhya vacha praptena keshi kshapana vasane Shri Naradena tvam abhishtuto bhuhu.
Rajesh. First line vandu Shauri Sutastva Muktwava.
Sutatvam Uktva.
Okay. Sutastvam. Okay.
Sutatvam. So did I say something else? Sutatvam.
இல்ல என் புக்ல வந்து சுதத்துவம்க்கு பதிலா சுதஸ்துவம் போட்டிருக்கு அதனால கேட்டேன்.
Oh, okay. Tatvam, yeah.
Kamsayate shauri sutatvam uktva tam tadvadhotkam pratirudhya vacha praptena keshikshapana vasane Shri Naradena tvam abhishtuto bhuhu. Kamsayate shauri sutatvam uktva tam tadvadhotkam pratirudhya vacha praptena keshikshapana vasane Shri Naradena tvam abhishtuto bhuhu.
Kamsayate sauri sutatva muktva tam tattvatottakam pradikritya vacha praptena kekshapane vasane Sri Naradena tvam abhishtuto bhuhu.
And the word third line, Keshi short E, okay, Keshi Kshapana Vasane. Praptena.
Praptena Keshi Kshapana Vasane.
Correct. Yeah.
Kamsayate sauri sudatva muktva tam tattvatottakam pradikritya vacha praptena keshi kshapana vasane Sri Naradena tvam abhishtuto bhuhu.
Kadapi Gopaihi is there, put is Gopais Saha Kananante, comma Nilayana Kridana Lolupam Tvam Mayat Majaha, put a F, Mayat Majah Prapa Duranta Mayo, comma Vyoma Bhido Vyoma Charopa Rodhi. Kadapi Gopais Saha Kananante Nilayana Kridana Lolupam Tvam Mayatmajah Prapa Duranta Mayo Vyoma Bidho Vyoma Charoparodhi.
Kadapi Gopai Sahakananante Nilayana Kridana Lolupantvam Mayatmajah Prapadurantamayo Vyoma Bidho Vyoma Charoparodhi. Kadapi Gopai Sahakananante Nilayana क्रीडनलोलुपं त्वां मयात्मजः प्रापदुरन्तमायो व्योमाभिधो व्योमचरोपरोधी
कथापि कोपै सककाननान्ते निलायन क्रीडनलोलुपं त्वां मयात्मज प्रापतुरन्दमायो व्योमापितो व्योमचरोपरोति कथापि कोपै सककाननान्ते निलायन क्रीडनलोलुपं त्वां मयात्मज प्रापतुरान्दमायो व्योमापितो व्योमचरोपरोति
स चोर पालायित वल्लवेषु चोरायितो गोप शिशून् पशूंश्च गुहासु कृत्वा पिदधे शिलाभिः, that is there, remove it, put a visarga and a comma, शिलाभिः, त्वया च बुद्ध्वा parimardito bhoot. That's one word, parimardito bhoot. So there was another person then comes whose name is Vyoma. So he's also extremely powerful, and it says he was like the enemy of the gods. So he's a pretty famous or pretty powerful person. And this Vyoma, who's also magical. So one day he comes to Vrindavan. So the boys are playing this game of hide and seek, or police and thief game they were playing. So this person Vyoma then comes, or he gets disguised as a Gopa, who's a thief. And then what he does is he steals away the Gopas and the cows, and then goes and hides them in a guha, in a cave. And then he shuts the cave out. And that's what it says. And then Krishna then comes, Krishna finds it out, and then he rescues them, and then he gets rid of Vyoma. So they don't give any more details. So that's all is happening. Sachorapalayita vallaveshu chorayito gopashishun pashumscha guhasu kritva pidadhe shilabihi tvaya cha buddhva parimardito bhoot.
सचोरपालायितवल्लवेषु चोरायितो गोपशिशून् पशूंश्च गुहासु कृत्वा पिदधे शिलाभिः त्वया च बुद्ध्वा परिमर्दितो भूत् सचोरपालायितवल्लवेषु चोरायितो गोपशिशून् पशूंश्च गुहासु कृत्वा पिदधे शिलाभिः त्वया च बुद्ध्वा परिमर्दितो भूत्
सचोरपालायितवल्लवेषु चोरायितो कोपशिशुषुन् पशुं च गुहाश्च कृत्वा पितते शिलाभिः त्वया च बुद्ध्वा परिमर्दितो भूत् सचोरपालायितवल्लवेषु चोरायितो कोपशिशुषुन् पशुं च
Shishun, yeah.
शिशुन् गोपशिशुन् पशुं च गुहाश्च कृत्वा पितते शिलाभिः त्वया च बुद्ध्वा परिमर्दितो भूत्
एवं विदैश् चाद्भुत केलि bedaihi ra, that is there, remove that ra, put a visarga and a comma, keli bedaihi, comma. Next word starts with the a, ananda murcham athulam, or murcham athulam brajasya pade pade nutana yenna simam, comma, paratma rupin pavanesha payaha. It says, it just sums up saying this way, at every step of the way, you have done something to take care of the people of Braja. So in this case also, when Keshi came and when Vyomasura came, you were able to get rid of them and protect the Braja people. And similarly, every step of the way, you've been taking care of them. Similarly, O Lord of Guruvayur, please protect me and eradicate any ailments I may have. Evam vidhaischadbhuta keli bhedaihi Ananda murchamatulam brajasya pade pade nutanayenna simam Paratmarupin Pavaneshapayaha.
एवं विधैश्चाद्भुतकेलिभेदैः आनन्दमूर्च्छा मतुलां व्रजस्य पदे पदे नूतनयन्न सीमां परात्मरूपिन् पवनेशपायाः एवं विधैश्चाद्भुतकेलिभेदैः आनन्दमूर्च्छा मतुलां व्रजस्य पदे पदे नूतनयन्न सीमां परात्मरूपिन् पवनेशपायाः
एवं विधैश्चाद्भुतकेलिपेतैः आनन्दमूर्च्छा मधुलां व्रजस्य पते पते नूतनयन्न सीमां परात्मरूपिन् भवनेशपायाः एवं विधैश्चाद्भुतकेलिपेतैः आनन्दमूर्च्छा मधुलां व्रजस्य पते पते नूतनयन्न सीमां परात्मरूपिन् भवनेशपायाः Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaः.
It was a simple chapter. Okay, we'll go to 72. Vijay and Meera, can you be students? 72.
Yes.
So 72 is Akrurasya Gokula Yatra Varnanam. So the journey that Akrura takes to come to Gokula. Although they're referring to Gokul, they actually mean Vrindavan here, because he actually comes to Vrindavan. But again, because it's like calling New England, because the people from England moved over to the northeast, right? Similarly, because the people from Gokul moved over to Vrindavan, they still kind of continued referring to it as Gokul, but it is actually Vrindavan is where they are.
What is the full name? Because we have Akruragamana Varnanam. You said different.
Agamana is to come, right? Varnanam is description. Akrura Agamana Varnam also means the same thing. Mine has Akrurasya Gokula Yatra Varnanam.
Okay.
He's traveling. He's going to travel to Vrindavan right now, or Gokul right now, to meet Krishna. That's this chapter essentially. So
okay. Akrurasya Gokula Yatra Varnanam.
yeah.
Okay.
Kamsota Narada Gira Vraja Vasinam Twam. Put a im at the end of that line and a comma. Twam. Next line, the ma goes away. Akarnya Dirna Hridayaha is there. Put a is Hridayas Sahi Gandhineyam Ahuya Karmukha Makach Chalato Bhavantam. Put a im again at the end of it. Bhavantam, comma. Same thing. Fourth line, ma goes away. So the next two, and starts with the a. So the next line, I'm going to break it into like 4 or 5 words, but you can also say it together. Anetum enam ahinot ahinatha shayin. So I'll repeat again. Anetum enam ahinot ahinatha shayin. So what's happening is ahinatha shayin. Shayin means one who is reclining, right? On ahi is serpent. So ahinatha shayin means one who is reclining on a serpent, one who is reclining on Adishesha, referring to Narayana here, or Krishna, doesn't matter here. So he says, so because if you remember last time, Narada then goes and tells Kamsa, right, that the 8th son of Vasudeva and Devaki is Krishna, and he's in Vrindavan. So Kamsa now has to summon. Kamsa knows that that Krishna, he's heard, everybody's heard things about Krishna, how he's gotten rid of everything, but nobody knew he's the 8th child, right? So Kamsa now has to figure out a way to bring him over so that he can now kind of play him in his own turf, right? And then get rid of Krishna. So that's when there is a bow festival that is actually going to be happening. So there's a Karmukha Makha. So that's the bow festival which is happening. And so Kamsa decides this is the best scenario to bring Krishna, Nandagopa, Balarama, everybody, and then to get rid of everybody at once. So he then decides to send Akrura, who's one of his very confident and one of his ministers, to Vrindavan to bring Krishna over. Kamsotha Narada Gira Vrajavasinam Twam Akarnya Dhirna Hridaya Sahi Gandhineyam आहूय कार्मुकमकच्छलतो भवन्तम् आनेतुमेन महिनो दहिनाथशायिन्
कंसोतनारदगिरा वृजवासिनं त्वाम् आकर्ण्यदीर्णहृदयः स हि गान्धिनेयम् आहूय
मकच्छलतो
ओके आहूय कार्मुकमखच्छलतो भवन्तम् आनेतुमेन महिनो दहिनाथशायीन् कंसोतनारदगिरा वृजवासिनं त्वाम् आकर्ण्यदीर्णहृदयः स हि गान्धिनेयम् आहूय कार्मुकमखच्छलतो भवन्तम् आनेतुमेन महिनो दहिनाथशायिन्
कंसोतनारदगिरा व्रजवासिनं त्वाम् आकर्ण्यदीर्णहृदयः स हि गान्धिनेयम् आहूय कार्मुकमकच्छलतो भवन्तम् आनेतुमेन महिनो दहिनाथशायिन् कंसोतनारदगिरा व्रजवासिनं त्वाम् आकर्ण्यदीर्णहृदयः स हि गान्धिनेयम् आहूय कार्मुकमकच्छलतो भवन्तम् आनेतुमेन महिनो दहिनाथशायिन्
अक्रूर एष भवदङ्घ्रि परश्चिराय त्वद्धर्शनाक्षम manaha. So that visarga you have to say because ksha is coming later. So manaha kshitipala bhitya tasyajnayaiva punarikshitum udhyatastvam. Put a im at the end of that. Udhyatastvam im at the end, comma. Next word ma goes away, starts with the a. Anandha bharamati bhuritaram bhabhara. So Akrura, who was also very devoted because he's heard about, like everybody, he's heard about Krishna and he's been wanting to meet Krishna, but he was not sure if Kamsa would let him go and meet, and because the king at the time, they controlled everything. So he was fear of the Kamsa then, punishing him. So now when Kamsa himself is telling Akrura, saying, you go and meet Krishna and you bring that Krishna over. So Akrura was ecstatic. He was extremely happy that he was finally going to be able to meet Krishna and then personally bring him. Akrura yesha bhavadangri paraschiraya tvaddharshanakshama kshitipala bhitya tasyajnayaiva punarikshitumudhyatastvam ananda bharamati bhuritaram babhara.
अक्रूर एष भवदङ्ग्र परश्चिराय त्वद्धर्शनाक्षममनाः क्षितिपालभीत्या तस्याज्ञयैव पुनरीक्षितो मुद्यतस्त्वाम् आनन्दभारमतिभूरितरं भभार. अक्रूर एष भवदङ्ग्र परश्चिराय अक्रूर एष भवदङ्घ्रि परश्चिराय त्वद्दर्शनाक्षममनाः क्षितिपालभीत्या तस्याज्ञयैव पुनरीक्षितो मुदत्यतस्त्वाम् आनन्दभारमतिभूरितरं भभार.
And the third line, it's not landing. On the second part of the third line, punarikshitum, you make it that way. Punarikshitum udyatatvam.
Okay. Punarikshitum udyatatvam.
Correct. Yeah.
Punarikshitum udyatatvam. Okay.
अक्रूर एष भवदङ्घ्रि परश्चिराय त्वद्दर्शनाक्षममनाः क्षितिपालभीत्या तस्याज्ञयैव पुनरीक्षितुमुद्यतस्त्वाम् आनन्दभारमतिभूरितरं बभार अक्रूर एष भवदङ्घ्रिपरश्चिराय त्वद्दर्शनाक्षममनाः क्षितिपालभीत्या तस्याज्ञयैव पुनरीक्षितुमुद्यतस्त्वाम् आनन्दभारमतिभूरितरं बभार
सोऽयं रथेन सुकृती भवतो निवासं गच्छन् मनोरथ गणांस् त्वयि धार्यमानान् आस्वादयन् मुहुरपाय भयेन दैवं, and then put a plus, samprartayan phati na kinchidapi vyajanat. So third and fourth line together. Soyam rathena sukriti bhavato nivasam gachan manorathaganam stvayidharyamanan आस्वादयन् मुहुरपाय भयेन दैवं सम्प्रार्थयन् पतिना किञ्चिदपि व्यजानात्.
सोऽयं रथेन सुकृती भवतो निवासं गच्छन् मनोरथगणांस्त्वयि धार्यमाणान् आस्वादयन् अपाय भयेन दैवं सम्प्रार्थयन् पतिना किञ्चिदपि व्यजानात्.
Kinchidap, you just take it down a little and kinchidapi vyajanat.
किञ्चिदपि व्यजानात्. सोऽयं रथेन सुकृती भवतो निवासं गच्छन् मनोरथगणांस्त्वयि धार्यमाणान् आस्वादयन् मुहुरपाय भयेन दैवं सम्प्रार्थयन् पतिना किञ्चिदपि व्यजानात्.
सोऽयं रथेन सुकृती भवतो निवासं गच्छन् मनोरथगणांस्त्वयि धार्यमाणान् आस्वादयन् मुहुरपाय भयेन दैवं सम्प्रार्थयन् पतिना किञ्चिदपि व्यजानात्. सोऽयं रथेन सुकृती भवतो निवासं गच्छन् मनोरथगणांस्त्वयि धार्यमाणान् आस्वादयन् मुहुरपाय भयेन दैवं सम्प्रार्थयन् पतिना किञ्चिदपि व्यजानात्.
द्रक्ष्यामि वेद शत गीत गतिं पुमांसं sprक्ष्यामि किं स्विदपि. So किं स्विदपि नाम परिष्वजेयं किं वक्ष्यते स खलु मां क्वनु वीक्षितः is there, put is वीक्षितः स्यात्, put it at the end of the third line, वीक्षितः स्यात्, it first ta comma it comma, next line d goes away, it becomes e, itham ninaya sa bhavan mayameva margam. So Akrura then, as he's traveling right in his chariot to Bhavato Nivasam, to the place where you live, which is in Vrindavan. So as he's traveling, then he's getting all these thoughts in his mind, right? He's feeling extremely happy. And then he's actually praying that, no, I should not have any obstacles, because finally he's getting a chance to go see Krishna. And he's worried that he might actually have some obstacles on the way. So he's constantly praying, saying that I should not have any obstacles. And he's not seeing anything that is on the way. And some of the thoughts that's going on in his mind here that they have called out is Drakshyami. So will I be able to see this person, right? That is his first thing. Will I be able to see this person who is Veda Shata Gita Gatim, who is the supreme being, who is the head of all the Vedas? Will I be able to see him? Second is Sprakshyami. Will I be able to touch this person, right? And be able to embrace him. I know that is the next level, right? So he's thinking about this. I hope I'm able to see him. I hope I'm able to embrace him. And then he's also thinking is, even after that, is once he goes to Vrindavan, he doesn't know if Krishna is going to be there or if Krishna is going to be out or anything, because he's going as a surprise visit. So he's hoping that I hope Krishna is still there. And, and what is Krishna going to tell me what is going to be Krishna's reaction. He knows how he's going to feel, and he's wondering what Krishna's reaction will be when he goes and meets him. So he's kind of thinking through all this when he's driving in his chariot. Drakshyami veda shatagita gatim pumhamsam sprakshyami kim svidapi nama parishvajeyam kim vakshyate sakhalu mam kvanu vikshitasyate ittam ninaya sabhavan mayameva margam.
Drakshami veda shatagita gatim pumamsam sprakshyami kim sidvadapi nama parishvajeyam kim vakshyate sakhalu mam kvanu vikshitasyate itham ninaya sabhavanmayameva margam. Drakshami veda shatagita gatim pumamsam sprakshyami kim sidvadapi nama parishvajeyam kim vakshyate sakhalu mam kvanu vikshitasyate itham ninaya bhavanmayameva margam.
Rakshyami veda shatagita gatim pumamsam sprakshyami kim svidapi nama parishvajeyam kim vakshyate sakhalu mam kvanu vikshitasyat ittam ninaya sabhavan mayameva margam. Drakshyami veda shatagita gatim pumamsam sprakshyami kim svidapi nama parishvajeyam kim vakshyate sakhalu mam kvanu vikshitasyat ittam ninaya sabhavan mayameva margam.
Bhuyaha is there, put a sound. Bhuyah kramadhabivishan. You can say kramad abhivishan or say it together. Kramadhabivishan bhavadangri putam, comma vrindavanam hara virincha surabhivandyam ananda magna iva lagna iva pramohe, comma kim kim dashantaram avapa na pankajaksha. So now he is entering Vrindavan. So here Bhattacharya is saying this land of Vrindavan, which is sanctified by even the lords, Hara referring to Shiva, Virincha referring to Brahma, and several other gods. Like, like I think if you remember what has happened all this while, there was a time where, Indra then, came, and then that's where the name Govinda came, right? So because they did, Indra then came here, Shiva has also come there to meet, Narada has come there. And Varuna and Agni have all had different incidents there, right? And they've all, and Brahma of course, right, when he stole the calves and everything. So this land of Vrindavan, which is sanctified and purified by all these gods and everything, so the moment when he entered Vrindavan, he somehow felt a state of bliss, because the Bhattacharya is saying that land is so blessed and so pure that the moment he enters Vrindavan, he can actually start feeling it in himself. And then he attained what all kim. So what all states of ecstasy did he not attain? So he felt extremely blissful and happy when he enters Vrindavan. Bhuya kramadhabivishan bhavadangri putam Vrindavanam haravirincha surabhivandyam ananda magna iva lagna iva pramohe kim dashantaramavapana pankajaksha.
Bhuya kramadhabivishan bhavadangri putam vrindavanam haravirincha surabhivandyam anandamagna iva lagna iva pramohe kim dashantaram avapana pankajaksha. Bhuya kramadhabivishan bhavadangri putam vrindavanam haravirincha surabhivandyam anandamagna iva lagna iva pramohe kim dashantaramavapana pankajaksha.
Bhuyah kramadabhivishan bhavadhangri putam vrindavanam haravirincha surabhivandyam anandamagna iva lagna iva pramohe kim dashantaramavapana pankajaksha. Bhuyah kramadabhivishan bhavadangri putam वृन्दावनं हरविरिञ्च सुराभिवन्द्यम् आनन्दमग्न इव लग्न इव प्रमोहे किं किं दशान्तरमवापन पङ्कजाक्ष
पश्यन् न वन्दत भवद् बिहृति स्थलानि, comma, Pam Sushva Veshtata. That word you have to say together. Pam Sushva Veshtata Bhavat Charanangiteshu Kim Bhrumahe Bahujana Hi Tadapi Jataha. Put a visarga there if you don't have it. Jataha, comma. Evam tu Bhakti Tarala Viralaha. Put a F. Viralaf Paratman. So first he goes, Bhattacharya says he goes to all the places where you have played, and then he goes and salutes. He does namaskarams to all those places, and every place in Vrindavan where your feet has touched. So where the footprints of yours are still there in the dust, he is actually going and he rolls in the dust. That's what Bhattacharya says. He's actually rolling in the dust, right? And then Bhattacharya says, what can I say? Although there were so many people who were living at that time in this world, people with such high devotion, there were very few. That's how devoted Akrura was. And I don't know if I have told you probably, right, that even when I went to Vrindavan, I was amazed that I was going in an auto from the bus stand to my hotel. And as I was going on the road, on both sides, all you see, any wall, murals, everything is around Krishna. And you actually see people doing pradakshinam around Vrindavan by lying on the ground by doing namaskaram. So they do one namaskaram, and then where the edge of the hand touches, they move forward, and that's where the feet come. So essentially, they're doing the entire parikrama of Vrindavan by doing namaskarams. And I saw this every day. And this was on the main roads where autos and buses and everything go. People were actually doing that there. So similarly, here Bhattacharya says that he was also rolling in the dust, where you have played and where you have all been. Pashyanna vandada bhavat vihrtistalani pam sushvaveshtata bhavat charanangiteshu kim bhrumahe bahujana hitadapi jataha evam tu bhakti tarala viralah paratman.
Pashyanna vandata bhavat vihrtistalani Pam Sushva Veshtata Bhavat Charanankiteshu Kim Brumahe Bahujana Hitata Pijataha Evam Tu Bhakti Tarala Virala Paratman Pashyanna Vandata Bhavat Vihritistalani Pam Sushva Veshtata Bhavat Charanangiteshu Kim Brumahe Bahujana Hitadapi Jataha Evam Tu Bhakti Tarala Virala Paratman.
Pashyanna vandata bhavad vihrtastalani Pamsushvaveshtata bhavat charanankiteshu Kim brumahe bahujana hitadapi jataha Evam tu bhakti tarala virala paratman Pashyanna vandata bhavad vihrtastalani Pamsushvaveshtata bhavat charanankiteshu Kim brumahe bahujana hitadapi jataha Evam tu bhakti tarala virala paratman.
Sayam sa ghopa bhavanani bhavach charitra, and then put a plus, Geetamrita prasrita karna rasayanani pashyan pramoda sariteva kilohyamano, comma, gachan bhavat bhavana sannidim anyavasit. You can break it at ma if you want. Sannidim anvayasit. So all this bliss that he is now piled up, right? So he's extremely happy. He's feeling the state of ecstasy. He's rolling in the mud and everything. And then finally, in the evening time, right, when he enters Vrindavan, and he's now looking, and then he's able to see all the residences, right, of all the Braja people. And as he enters, right, sometimes, like, when we enter the cities, you suddenly start seeing this loud music coming up. So you know you're entering that place, right? And when you're entering temple, you start hearing that. Similarly, here he's hearing chatter everywhere he's going, right? As he's walking, is driving in, he's hearing chatter of people talking about Krishna, and it's everything about Krishna. And so suddenly it's like he says it is like a nectar for his ears and as well as a feast for his eyes, because everywhere he sees, he's somehow able to see something related to Krishna or related to that happening, which is actually even now, like I said, I don't know how it was then, but even now, if you go to Vrindavan, you can't find a spot where either you're not seeing some image of Krishna there, or people walking around saying Radhe Radhe, because of course people are more attached to Radha there than Krishna. But again, Radha, Krishna, everybody. So similarly, he says he's hearing things, he's seeing things, and then he finally begins to see all the Gopa houses there. Sayam sa Gopa bhavanani bhavacharitra geetamrita prasruta karna rasayanani Pashyan pramoda sariteva kilohyamano Gachan bhavat bhavana sannidhimanvayasit.
Sayam saghopa bhavanani bhavacharitra Geetamrita prasrita karna rasayanani Pashyan pramodha sariteva kilohyamano Gachan bhavat bhavan sannidhim anvayasit.
And then the last in the Vijay, last line, Gachan bhavat bhavana na. Last line.
You have to go back and come.
In a Vijay?
இல்ல என்னோட இது கனெக்ஷன் கொஞ்சம் போயிட்டு நீங்க என்ன சொன்னாலும் காதுல விழல.
Oh, okay. No, I think the last line you said Gachan bhavat bhavan, it's bhavana na, full na. Fourth line. Oh, can you hear me or you lost Vijay? Okay, Meera, why don't you go? He'll probably come.
Sayam sagopa bhavanani bhavacharitra geetamrita prasruta karna rasayanani Pashyan pramoda sarideva kilohyamano Gachan bhavat bhavana sannidhimanvayasit.
Anvayasit. Last word. Anvayasit.
Sorry, Anvayasit. Sayam sagopa bhavanani bhavacharitra geetamrita prasruta karna rasayanani Pashyan pramoda sarideva kilohyamano Gachan bhavat bhavana sannidhi anvayasit.
Vijay, I think it looks like he's dropped. Okay. Srividya, Sriram, you can maybe continue for the last few stanzas. Okay. Tavat dadarsha pashu doha viloka lolam, comma, bhaktotam agatim iva. And the word, if you want to break it 3 parts, bhaktotam agatim iva pratipalayantam bhuman bhavantamayam agrajavanta mantaha. So let me break it and then you can also say it together. Bhavantam ayam agrajavantam antaha. Put a visarga at the very end. Next line on the Brahma, you have a ir there, remove that ir off. Brahmanu bhuti rasa sindhum ivodhvamantam. Vijay, are you back?
அவர் ஏதோ அனுப்பிச்சிருக்காரு ஒரு நிமிஷம். ஓ நீங்க தான் அனுப்பிச்சிருக்கீங்களா? சாரி.
ஏதோ okay.
You're back, but I think yours is breaking up, Vijay. That's okay. So you then English continue. Okay, no worries. Yeah, I don't know. It may be having connection issues. So, Tavad dadarsha pashudoha bilokalolam bhakto tamagatimiva pratipalayantam bhuman bhavantamayamagrajavantamantaha brahmanubhuti rasa sindhumivodvamantam.
Tavad dadarsha pashudoha vilokalokam
Lolam. Yeah.
Vilokalolam भक्तोत्तमागतिमिव प्रतिपालयन्तम् भूमन् भवन्तमयमग्रजवन्तमन्तः ब्रह्मानुभूतिरससिन्धुमवोत्मवन्तम्
Sindhum ivodvamantam.
सिन्धुमिवोत्मवन्तम् तावद्ददर्श पशुदोह विलोकलोलम् भक्तोत्तमागतिमिव प्रतिपालयन्तम् भूमन् भवन्तमयमग्रजवन्तमन्तः ब्रह्मानुभूतिरसि सिन्धुमिवोत्मवन्तम्
तावद्ददर्श पशुदोह विलोकलोलं भक्तोत्तमागतिमिव प्रतिपालयन्तं भूमन् भवन्तमयमग्रजवन्तमन्तः ब्रह्मानुभूतिरससिन्धुमिवोद्वमन्तम् तावद्ददर्श पशुदोह विलोकलोलं भक्तोत्तमागतिमिव प्रतिपालयन्तं भूमन् भवन्तमयमग्रजवन्तमन्तः ब्रह्मानुभूतिरससिन्धुमिवोद्वमन्तम्
Sayanta naplava vishesha vivikta gatrau, comma, dhvau pita neela ruchirambara lobhaniyau nati prapancha dhrita bhushana charu veshau, comma, manda smitardra vadanau cha yuvam dhadarsha. So the previous one, when Akrura then enters, he enters to Nandagopa's house. So there he sees that Balarama and Krishna were initially in the evening time, they were helping, their all the people there milk the cows, and then they were all in the shed. And it appeared as if Krishna was already expecting the arrival of his devotee. It just seemed like, so when he saw, he kind of gave a smile because it seemed as if he was expecting it. And then that smile, Bhattacharya says to of Krishna that whatever Akrura had in his mind, the bliss and the expectation that he had in his mind, suddenly he felt it in his body. Suddenly he had a level of experience. That's why it says here, Anta Brahmanu Bhuti Rasa Sindhum. So he felt it as if he had that blissful Brahmic experience in his body just when he saw Krishna there, and Krishna then smiled. And then in the evening, Krishna and Balarama then came to meet Akrura, and it says that they were all, they had taken, they were very clean, they were wearing the Pita Neela. Balarama was wearing yellow, Krishna was wearing, other way around. Krishna was wearing yellow, Balarama was wearing blue, and they did not have, Bhattacharya says, they did not have many jewelry or anything, they just had very limited, some ornaments, right, with the were coming. And then Mandas Midardra, and then Krishna then had a very smiling face when they came to meet Akrura here, both of them. Sayantanaplava vishesha vivikta gatrau dhvau pita neela ruchirambara lobhaniyau nati prapancha dhrita bhushana charuveshau mandasmitardhavadanau cha yuvam dadharsha.
In the last sentence, is this Vadanau Sai as an S-A or Chai as an C-A?
S-A, Sa. Vadanau Sa yuvam.
So it's S-A because
yeah. S-A,
okay.
yes.
Thank you.
सायन्तनाप्लव विशेषविक्तगात्रौ द्वौ पीतनीलरुचिराम्बरलोभनीयौ नातिप्रपञ्चधृतभूषणचारुवेशौ मन्दस्मितद्रवदनौ स युवां ददर्श सायन्तनाप्लव विशेषविविक्तगात्रौ द्वौ पीतनीलरुचिराम्बरलोभनीयौ नातिप्रपञ्चधृतभूषणचारुवेशौ मन्दस्मितद्रवदनौ स युवां ददर्श.
सायन्तनाप्लवविशेषविविक्तगात्रौ द्वौ पीतनीलरुचिराम्बरलोभनीयौ नातिप्रपञ्चधृतभूषणचारुवेशौ मन्दस्मिताद्रवदनौ स युवां ददर्श सायन्तनाप्लवविशेषविविक्तगात्रौ द्वौ पीतनीलरुचिराम्बरलोभनीयौ नातिप्रपञ्चधृतभूषणचारुवेशौ मन्दस्मिताद्रवदनौ स युवां ददर्श
दूराद्रथात् समवरुह्य namantaменam, put im at the end of that line in comma, namantaменam. Next line, that ma goes away. Utthapya bhakta kula maulimatopa guhan harshan mitakshara gira kushalanu yogi, comma, panim pragrihya sabalota griham ninetha. दूराद्रथात् समवरुह्य नमन्तमेनं उत्ताप्य भक्तकुलमौलिमतोपगूहन् हर्षान्विताक्षरगिरा कुशलानुयोगी पाणिं प्रगृह्य सबलोत गृहं निनेथ.
दूराद्रथात् समवरुह्य नमन्तमेनं उत्थाप्य भक्तकुलमौलिमतोपगूहन् हर्षान्विताक्षरगिरा कुशलानुयोगी पाणिं प्रगृह्य पाणिं प्रगृह्य सपलोतगृहं निनेय.
Ninetha, last letter.
Oh, nineta vargya. Nineta, okay. दूराद्रथात् समवरुह्य नमन्तमेनं उत्थाप्य भक्तकुलमौलिमतोपगूहन् हर्षान्विताक्षरगिरा कुशलानुयोगी पाणिं प्रगृह्य सपलोतगृहं निनेत.
दूराद्रथात् समवरुह्य नमन्तमेनं उत्थाप्य भक्तकुलमौलिमथोपगूहन् हर्षान्विताक्षरगिरा कुशलानुयोगी पाणिं प्रगृह्य सबलोथ गृहं निनेथ. दूराद्रथात् समवरुह्य नमन्तमेनं उत्थाप्य भक्तकुलमौलिमथोपगूहन् हर्षान्विताक्षरगिरा कुशलानुयोगी पाणिं प्रगृह्य सबलोथ गृहं निनेथ.
This has got 12 stanzas, so 2 more stanzas. Nandena sakam amitadaram archayitva, if you want to break it. Sakam amitadaram archayitva, comma, tam yadavam taduditam nishamaya vartam gopeshu bhupati nidesha katham nivedya nana kathabhiriha tena nishama naishihi. So Akrura then, he comes and then he sees Balarama and Krishna, who are, like we said, after the evening bath, they were all dressed and they were, welcomed him. So, and then Akrura also prostrates, and then, Krishna then inquired about Akrura and everything, and then they welcome him into the house along with Balarama and Krishna, bring him into the house. And there Nandagopa then, welcomes him, respects and all that stuff. And then finally Akrura tells the purpose of his visit. He says that I'm coming on behalf of Kamsa, and Kamsa has invited all of you, right? Krishna, Balarama, Nandagopa, everybody, right, to the bow festival. And because Nandagopa has one of the big province there and he pays tax and everything anyways, so he's anyway a big person. He says he's invited all of you for the bow festival and all of you have to come. And then the word then immediately then spreads, Gopeshu, amongst all the Gopas, the word then spreads that Krishna and everybody has been invited specifically to go. And then Krishna then spends the evening discussing the plan with Akrura as to when they're going to leave and all that. So that's all is happening. Nandena sakamamitaadharamarchayitva tam yadavam taduditam nishamayya vartam गोपेषु भूपति निदेश कथां निवेद्य नाना कथाभिरिहतेन निशामनैषीः
नन्देन साकमिति दातरमर्चयित्वा तां यादवं तदुदितं निशमय्य वार्तां गोपेषु भूपति निदेश गतां निवेद्य नानागताभिरिहतेन तेन निशामनैषीः.
Sheeta, the second line, first word tam, adu you say tam chonel tam,
Okay.
and then taduditam, adu you say taduditam, you said the other way around. So tam yadavam taduditam.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. Okay. Nandena sakamamittitamarchayitva
Sakam amitadaram archayitva. 3 words.
Okay. Nandena sakamamitadarmarchayitva tam yadavam taduditam nishamayya vartam गोपेषु भूपति निदेशगतां निवेद्य नानागताभिरिहतेन निशामनैषीः
नन्देन साकममितादरमर्चयित्वा तं यादवं तदुदितां निशमय्य वार्तां गोपेषु भूपतिनिदेशकथां निवेद्य नानाकथाभिरिहतेन निशामनैषीः नन्देन साकममितादरमर्चयित्वा तं यादवं तदुदितां निशमय्य वार्तां गोपेषु भूपतिनिदेशकथां निवेद्य नानाकथाभिरिहतेन निशामनैषीः
Chandra grihe किमुत चंद्रभगा गृहे नु कॉमा राधा गृहे नु भवने किमु मैत्रविंदे कॉमा धूर्तो विलंबत इति प्रमदाभिरुच्चैः. So put a visarga and end there. Pramadabhiruchaihi, comma. Next line, the ra goes away. Ashankito nishi marut puranatha payaha. So because Krishna wasn't busy with Akrura, all these people are wondering, Krishna is leaving the next day, and for them, going from one place to another seemed like a big deal. And so they were wondering, where is Krishna? He seems to have disappeared. So they keep going from house to house, whether it's in Chandra's house or Chandra Bhaga's house or Radha's house or Maitravinda's house. So they keep looking and they don't find Krishna anywhere. And Krishna is actually with Akrura at that time, planning what was happening. And they kept looking all through the night. So that's in Marut Puranatha, O Lord of Guruvayur, please protect me. Chandra grihe kimuta Chandra Bhaga grihenu Radha grihenu bhavane kimu Maitravinde Dhurto vilambataite pramadabhiruchaihi Ashankito nishimarut puranathapayaha.
Chandra grihe kimuta Chandra bhaga grihe nu Radha grihe nu bhavane kimu maitravinde Dhurto vilambata iti pramadabhiruchaihi Ashankito nishimarut puranathapayaha. Chandra grihe kimuta Chandra bhaga grihe nu Radha grihe nu bhavane kimu maitravinde Dhurto vilambata iti pramadabhiruchaihi Ashankito nishimarut puranathapayaha.
Chandra grihe kimuta Chandra bhaga grihenu Radha grihenu bhavane kimu maitravinde Dhurto vilambata iti pramadabhiruchaihi Ashankito nishimarut puranathapayaha. Chandra grihe kimuta Chandra bhaga grihenu Radha grihenu bhavane kimu maitravinde Dhurto vilambata iti pramadabhiruchaihi Ashankito आशङ्कितो निशिमरुत्पुरनाथपायाः
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. In the class here. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadebhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurushartatmakam brahmatattvam tattavad bhadi sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना भा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि.